Hello bookworms and welcome back to my channel. It's been a while. I moved to York and started university and life got very hectic. I didn't know this would happen. I knew that I would not be able to dedicate any time to YouTube, which I'm a little bit sad about, but anyway. I am gonna try and make more regular videos in the new year. I also want to find a way to incorporate like my university life and studies into this channel as well. I did really want to like vlog my first week, but basically there was an issue with my housing and it was one of the most stressful weeks of my entire life. I literally thought I wasn't going to have anywhere to live. I literally moved to York the day my term started, so that was stressful. But now things have kind of settled down a little bit. Hopefully that means that I'm able to do a little bit more YouTube. But anyway, we're coming towards the end of the year. It's literally New Year's Eve today, it's the 31st of December. So I thought I'd have a look at my reading goals for 2022 and see if I achieved them, because I know that I recorded a reading goals video. So I'm going to watch that back, I'm going to react to it, and I'm going to see if I met those goals. There it is. 2022 reading goals.
My reading goal this year for the amount of books I want to read is 52, which is a book a week.
I read 130 books. So the reason that I went for 52 is because I knew I was going to be starting university. Well, I hoped I'd be starting university because at that point I hadn't got a place, but I was applying. So I didn't want to put too much pressure on myself to like read a goal that I didn't think would be achievable, or I wasn't sure whether it would be achievable or not, because I didn't know what the workload was going to be like. But the thing that I didn't take into consideration is the fact that I read as part of my university course. I read plays, so that counts towards my reading goal. And there's also the fact that I'm a heavy audiobook user, so actually the amount I read didn't really get disrupted.
I also want to set myself a pages challenge. I'm not sure whether to count audiobooks as pages because
I did.
Storygraph doesn't, which I think they should.
It now does. It now counts. It has the option to either count it as hours listened or pages, and I picked the pages one.
They're not going to count your audiobooks towards your page goal, and they should at least have a section that tells you how many hours.
Oh my god, I predicted it. Does Storygraph watch my videos?
My pages goal is 42,000 because last year I set it at 40,000. I wanted to up it a little bit.
I think I went for 45,000 actually, but I can't remember. We'll see when I go through my Storygraph stats.
Because I'm wanting to read longer books this year and not have fear of longer books. I very much stick within the 300 to 500 category, and I don't read a lot of books that are either under that or above that, so I would like to read more books that are above 500 pages.
I think at the beginning of the year I definitely stuck to that. I read a lot more books that were like over 500 pages, but because, as I said, my university reading is a lot of plays and they are all like under 100 pages, that did affect my like stats, if that makes sense. So there's like a pie chart on Storygraph for like pages, and for a good chunk of the year the 500 plus, or yeah, the 500 plus pages was more than the less than 300 pages, but then because of university and having to read short plays, it kind of ruined that a little bit.
I want to read more non-fiction because last year I only read 3 non-fiction books.
So I read more than 3 non-fiction books this year, which is good, but I still didn't read as much as I wanted to. I think maybe next year I'm going to be a little bit more specific in my goal, like say that I want 25% of the books I read to be non-fiction or something like that, because this year I still didn't read as much non-fiction as I wanted to, and I think that's partly because when it comes to non-fiction I am slower at reading them. I tend to dip in and out rather than like really stick to a book when it's non-fiction, so it takes me longer. I kind of half achieved that goal. Like I did better than in 2021, so I did better than 3, but still not as many as I wanted to.
I have Julie Walters' autobiography, I've had that for a while.
I've still not read it.
Sticking with the genre theme, another goal of mine is to not read less fantasy, but just to expand the kind of books that I read.
I don't think I did this, or at least I didn't consciously do this. I love fantasy and it is the majority of what I read. Thinking about like my top 10 books, I think probably 7 out of 10 were fantasy. I need to sit on a cushion or something because my feet are going numb.
And the final sort of genre goal, I guess, is to read more classics.
I definitely feel like I achieved this. I didn't read a huge amount of classics this year, but the ones that I did read, I really enjoyed, and I've definitely got the bug to read more classics.
An author that I want to read more books of this year is V. Schwab. The only book that I've actually...
I did not do this.
And obviously her new book, Gallants, is coming out in March. So that is a book that I'm very excited for. And my final reading goal for 2022 is to reread the Lord of the Rings trilogy. I absolutely love this.
I did do this. I did reread them. Although, part of me wants to reread them again via the audiobook because I feel like I rushed them. Because I hadn't read them in so long, I was just really eager to like read them and absorb the story, and I think I rushed it a little bit. So I think maybe a goal for 2023 is to reread The Lord of the Rings again, but via the audiobook. And also maybe The Hobbit, because I haven't read The Hobbit in a while. That was probably my favourite book as a child.
So those are my reading goals for 2022, and make sure to keep an eye out for my next video.
Okay, so those were my 2022 reading goals. I think I did alright. Now I'm going to watch the other video, which was the 22 books I wanted to read in 2022. I'm already pretty confident that I didn't do very well in this.
This first category is the second book in a series, basically. So these are series that I have already started, and
this is what I don't think I've done very well on.
This year. The first book is The Obelisk Gate by N.K. Jemisin. This is the second book in the Broken
Not read it.
Trilogy. Also, very intrigued about how this book's going to be structured, because the first book is a very specific structure that I don't know if it would work in the second book.
I'm still very intrigued as to see how the second book is structured. I still really want to finish this series because I really enjoyed the first book, but I don't know. Maybe I haven't had the energy for a high fantasy this year, but definitely I need to read it soon.
The second series I want to continue is the Mirror Visitor Quartet.
Nope. Still haven't read that book.
The second book, The Missing of
Claire de Lune.
Claire de Lune. And another one that I don't think I can actually predict what is going to be in this book, because the first book was so unpredictable. Am I learning something about myself? Is that the kind of fantasy that I enjoy? Unpredictable and chaotic. Very intrigued to carry on.
That's just my personality, unpredictable and chaotic.
These next lot are the first book in a series, so these are series that I want to start.
Why was I starting new series when I fully had unfinished series that I needed to read?
Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Harmons.
I did read that. I actually read that and the second book in the series. So the first book I really enjoyed, but it was a lot of setup, so I didn't really know how to feel about it until I read the second book in the series, because that's what it was setting up for. Second book in the series, brilliant. That is how you do a slow burn fantasy.
Caramel by Stephanie Garber. This is one that people have been telling me to read for a very long time.
I still have not read this.
I don't want to get my hopes up too much because I don't want to be let down, because so many people have said for me to read it. I think that's the reason why I've been putting off reading the trilogy for like so long.
At this point, I'm not even putting it off anymore, I just keep forgetting that it exists.
Right there by Jordan Ifuko. This is actually...
I haven't read this either.
Vicious by V. Schwab. This is the first book in the Vicious currently a duology, but...
We already know that I haven't read this because I haven't read any V. Schwab this year.
And I've heard that this has asexual representation in it, so definitely...
I do need to read more books with ace characters in. That's a goal for next year.
And finally, another book talk favourite, we have The Cruel Prince by Holly Black.
I read this one! I actually read the entire trilogy. So a sequel / extension of the universe is coming out at the beginning in January, and a friend of mine, Gemma, was doing a read along in preparation for that because The Cruel Prince is one of her favourite series, so I read the trilogy along with that, and I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about the series, but I absolutely loved it.
One of my reading goals for this year is to read more classics, because I feel like I have been neglecting reading classics, so this next lot of books are all classics. First, we have Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. I've never read anything.
Still haven't read Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. Still haven't read anything by Jane Austen. I think I am going to read Jane Austen just to give her a go because a lot of people love her writing. However, I've realised that the kind of classics that I like are the dark gothic classics. So, I don't know whether it's for me or not.
The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood.
Still haven't read The Handmaid's Tale, and I'm not sure if I will, actually. I've seen the TV series. I've definitely seen season 1. Potentially I've seen season 2, I can't really remember. So I'm not sure whether I will actually read the book or not because I know what happens. I just don't really feel the need to read it.
1984 by George Orwell. This is a dystopian classic.
I didn't read 1984 by George Orwell, but I did read Animal Farm by George Orwell and I really enjoyed it. I still want to read 1984 and I will pick it up at some point, but I didn't this year.
The Silmarillion by J.R.R. Tolkien.
I still haven't read The Silmarillion. It's a hard book, okay? I might try and find an audiobook of it and see if I can read it via the audiobook because there's part of me that feels like I'm a fake fan because I haven't read The Silmarillion.
The reading goal of mine is to read more non-fiction, but there is only one non-fiction book on this list and it is The Covent Garden Lady.
And I haven't read it yet.
This next pile is literary fiction / contemporary. Beautiful World, Where Are You by Sally Rooney. I have read Sally Rooney's other 2 books and really enjoyed them. I was kind of scared to read this one because I've heard very mixed things.
I haven't read it. Still very scared to read it because I've heard very mixed things. I also feel like I need to reread Normal People and Conversations with Friends, especially Normal People because it has been a very long time since I read Normal People. I feel like my taste has changed a little bit since I last read those books.
I know part of it is set in the pandemic and I was just not in the headspace to be reading anything that was...
Still not really. Like, I watched Glass Onion the other day, which is the new Knives Out movie, and that's set in the pandemic, and I was just like, can we just erase this? I don't want any reminders of that damn pandemic.
I also feel really left out because everyone's read it, and people talk about it, and I want to add to the conversation. Look at those braid edges. So pretty.
Can we just talk about the fact that buying the hardback of a book and then realising that you haven't read it by the time the paperback comes out, that is a deep guilt that is hard to explain, but I've had that happen a few times recently where I've realised that I bought the hardback and the paperback has come out and I still haven't read it.
We Were Villains by N.L. Rio.
I have read this one, and spoilers for my top 10 of 2022, but it makes an appearance.
Is the special edition with sprayed edges, very pretty. Dark Academia, Shakespeare. I know I'm gonna love it. This next one.
And I did. Speaking of special editions though, look at it. This is like the illustrated 5th anniversary edition. I find it very strange that they're doing 5th anniversary editions of books. Like, since when was 5 years something to celebrate? Did Bo Burnham make it a thing? I'm not complaining because this is beautiful.
I'm terrified to read it, and it is A Little Life by Hanya
Yanagihara.
Sorry, I'm really bad at names. 2 reasons why I'm terrified to read it. Look at the size of it. Also, apparently this will rip your heart out, tear it into little pieces, and throw it down the drain.
So I have started reading this. I have only read... Oh, actually, it's here. I'll show you how much I've read. I've read that much. I'm going to see the play in March. So I wanted to read the book before I saw the play. It's probably going to take me 3 months to finish.
I do enjoy a good cry, and not a lot actually affects me, so I kind of want to put this book to a challenge.
It's true, I'm heartless.
Famous last words. Anyway, another BookTok favourite. Red, White and Waterloo by Casey McQuiston. I'm intrigued to see what people love about this book and find...
I've no idea what people love about that book because I DNF'd it. I was bored.
We have Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid.
Yeah, I haven't read Malibu Rising. I just haven't really been in the mood for it. I was saving it for summer, and then it got to summer and I was like, I don't really want to read this.
Ariadne by Jennifer Sade. This is obviously a retelling of the character Ariadne.
I have read this. I loved it, but it's not just about Ariadne, it's about Phaedra as well. Like, it's pretty much evenly split between Ariadne and Phaedra.
And also the Minotaur, I think. Somebody in the Minotaur, I can never remember the...
Theseus and the Minotaur. Theseus is a dick.
Also, her new book is coming out this year, so I need to read this to know whether I want to get the new one.
I did get the new one, but I haven't read it yet.
Me in Another Life by Catriona Silvey. This is a fantasy, I think. It was in the fantasy section.
I actually think it's a sci-fi, but I still haven't read it, so I don't know.
But I'll let you know once I've read it, what actual category.
I'll let you know once I've read it what actual category it is in.
10,000 Doors of January by Alex E. Harrow.
I've not read it. This one is because I wanted to read it in January, and then I didn't read it in January, so I then had no interest in reading it for the rest of the year. So we'll see if I read it this January.
Law by Alexandra Bracken. This is The Hunger Games meets Greek mythology.
I have read it, and it is The Hunger Games meets Greek mythology.
Also a little bit terrified because I have heard not so great things.
I did enjoy it. It's good. It's a good urban YA fantasy. If you like The Hunger Games, and if you like Greek mythology, give it a go.
She Who Became a Sun by Shelley Parker Chan. My copy is signed. Look at the teeny tiny signature. Heard very good things about this book.
I still haven't read it. And this is an example of a book that I bought in hardback that is now out in paperback.
One of the quotes on the front is from Samantha Shannon, and I love Samantha Shannon.
I do.
There we have it. Those are 22 books that I want to read in 2022.
That was better than I thought. To be honest with you, I thought I'd read about 2 of them. Okay, I'm going to get the list up of the books that were on that list, and then I'm going to count how many I actually read. Okay, so I read 5, DNF'd 1, and I'm currently reading another, so 7 out of 22. Good. Yeah, I don't think I'll be making a TBR for 2023 because I think we've learned from this video I'm not very good at keeping TBRs. What we've learned from this video is that I'm good at keeping goals but not good at TBRs. Right, I am gonna get up off the floor because my knees are screaming at me. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you're not already. And thank you for watching. Happy reading!